The Fourth Way by P.D. Ouspensky. Chapter 8. This is actually a continuation of Chapter 8. And let me remind you that the questions are always put by Ouspensky and the answers are given by Gurdjieff. Question: is necessity the third force? So many decisions seem to be settled by necessity. Answer: and many others are settled by what is not necessary. People can always do without necessary things, but to do without unnecessary things is much more difficult. So you cannot say that, but you must realize that you cannot speak about the third force without giving the first and the second. Question: can we study the law of three to see why our efforts do not succeed? Answer: very useful sometimes. Sometimes you can see that because of not knowing and not complying with the law of three, people lose all the results of their efforts. Either they do not calculate resistance, or they do not calculate their active force. I am speaking now about a triad where the third force is present. Very strange phenomena happen when the difference between forces is too big. The result appears completely unlike what it was expected. Suppose you want to do a certain thing, but you did not calculate resistance. Your intention meets with a very strong resistance, and the result, when it comes, is absolutely different from what is wanted. In the work, you can see two forces: the idea of the system and your own resistance, your own sleep. In each particular case, a certain third force enters and either helps one side or the other side. Question: what is the practical value of studying forces? Answer: behind all things there are cosmic laws. You cannot understand why things happen in one way or another unless you have some idea of these laws. Question: if you take events instead of matter, can you say that they are of a different kind according to the force that works through them? If you take events instead of matter, can you say that they are of a different kind according to the forces that work through them? Answer: they are different according to which triad works. For instance, we all know how the same sentence, the same words, can have quite a different meaning according to who says it. Or even the same person can say the same words at different times, and the meaning will be different. We can find the teaching about three forces, or three gunas, Gunas, in Sankhya philosophy, but in the existing literature it has been seriously deteriorated, for they speak of each guna or force as remaining always the same, whereas the point of view of the system, as I said, the activity, passivity, or neutralizing power of each force appears only in relation to the two other forces. There can be 7 combinations of forces, one of them incomprehensible to the human mind, since in this triad each force occupies each place. Triads refer to events, so to speak, of each event separately. Whether big or small, we have to understand to which triad each belongs. But a succession of events proceeds according to the law of 7, or the law of octaves. The law of 7 must be understood and remembered from the point of view of intervals. Putting it briefly, the law of 7 means that no force ever works continuously in the same direction. It works for a certain time, then diminishes in intensity, and either changes its direction or undergoes an interchange. In every octave, that is, a period between a certain number of vibrations, and either double or half that number, there are 2 places where the vibrations, or to be more exact, manifestations of energy going on in space and time, or in both undergo a certain change, slow down and then start again. If an additional shock does not enter those places, the octave changes direction. This measured irregularity in the rate of vibration was calculated and embodied in certain formulae. This formula, the law of seven, this formula expressing a cosmic law was later applied to music in the form of the major scale. The law of seven shows that no force can develop in one direction and shows the places where these changes or retardations occur. Question: is it because of obstacles at intervals? Answer: it is because of intervals. Obstacles are normal. Every energy develops among obstacles. It is because of intervals. Obstacles are normal. Every energy develops among obstacles. Question: does the line always change in one direction? Answer: no, in any direction. When things happen, one can never be sure of direction. Men 1, 2, and 3 never arrive where they want to. It can only happen by accident. We think that when we do not arrive where we want to, it is an exception. We do not realize that is a law. We cannot rely on chance to provide the right shocks at the right moments. Question: is this process infinite? Answer: you cannot imagine a force that works indefinitely. It works according to the amount of energy there is. But again, octaves are different. They may be descending or ascending. An ascending octave is between a certain number of vibrations and double that number. A descending octave is between a certain number of vibrations and half that number. So, speaking about a succession of events, we have to know ascending and descending octaves. Without knowing whether it is descending or an ascending octave, it is impossible to understand it. And this is what happens in ordinary thinking, because people study ascending octaves and take them for descending and vice versa. Question: could you give an example of people taking a descending octave for an ascending one? Answer: suppose we meet savages. We usually think they are primitive, and from these primitive people there begin to develop civilization and culture. But we do not realize that in most cases they are descendants of cultured people. Very often we take degeneration for evolution. It is easier to observe the law of seven in human actions. You can see how when people begin to do something, study, work, after some time, without any visible reason, their efforts diminish. Work slows down. If some special effort is not made at a given moment, the line changes its direction. There is a small but very real change in inner strength. Then, after some time again, there is a slackening, and again, if there is no special effort, the direction changes. It can change completely and go in a diametrically opposite direction, still appearing to be the same thing. There are many phases of human activity which answer to this description. They start one way and then imperceptibly continue in exactly the opposite way. If these intervals are known, and if a method of creating some special effort or arrangement is used in these intervals, it is possible to avoid breaks in the octave. Everything goes by octaves. No vibration, no movement, no activity can go in any other way. Scales vary, so we cannot follow them, but we can see their results, the results of the law of seven. Even the inner physical work of the organism is under this law. With certain kinds of efforts, we can produce these missing semitones, fill the intervals, and in this way change the work of our machine. For instance, you will see later how the effort to remember oneself changes many things in the chemistry of our organism. Question: if you discover an interval in a certain action, is it likely to go on repeating? Answer: if you could find examples, it would be easier to talk. To answer generally, if nothing is done, the interval will increase with each octave at the same place. Question: you spoke about octaves of self-remembering. Answer: not exactly. I said that if you work, your work may form itself into octaves and will have intervals. If you do not know where the intervals come, your work will change, but we cannot speak of octaves in relation to self-remembering, because with us, it only starts and peters out. If we manage two or three notes, it will be good. We have not got enough initial energy, yet we must start and start again until we make an octave. We have to begin afresh every day. Do, re, mi. For a long time, we cannot get further than mi. Question: if you get to mi, what happens? Answer: then you stop and go back. For a long time, you will not pass the interval. But after some time of study, you will be able to detect intervals. You will know that in some part of your line of work, an interval is approaching. Question: to see octaves, ought one try to follow a sequence of happenings in oneself? Answer: not a sequence of happenings, but you can see intervals. If you begin to do something to learn something, you will see how an activity goes on for some time in a particular direction and then deviates from the original course. Now, having all this in mind, we come to the study of the universe in order to determine what is the world for man. Man lives on Earth, but the Earth is one of the planets of the solar system, so man also belongs to the planetary world. The Earth occupies a certain place in the solar system, so we can say that we also belong to the Sun. The Sun is one of the stars of the Milky Way, so in a sense, we also belong to the Milky Way. Then ordinary science understands and admits the existence of other galaxies, similar and dissimilar to ours. So we belong also to the world of all galaxies taken together. Astronomically, we cannot go any further, but philosophically, we can conceive a state of things where everything is one, as an apple is one. This state we call the absolute. So all galaxies, our galaxy, our solar system, the planets, the Earth, and the Moon, which is in the sphere of influences of the Earth, are all in the absolute. The absolute actually creates only the world of the next order to itself. And the will of the absolute does not manifest itself beyond world 3. As the number of laws increases, they become more and more mechanical and complicated, and the will of the absolute cannot come through the intervening mechanicalness and manifest itself in the lower worlds. But it starts the ball rolling, so to speak. Try to think about it. It is very important. Question: why should not the will of the absolute fill all? Answer: there are things impossible even to the absolute. You see, we think that if the absolute is a state of things to which the origin of all things belongs, the will of the absolute can do anything. Yet, there are some things the absolute cannot do, because he begins by creating certain laws. These laws create other laws, and these yet other laws. The Absolute creates only the first order of laws. If he wants to manifest his will on our level, he will have to destroy all these laws. We are surrounded and controlled by quantities of mechanical laws. When we begin to see that, we realize that it is impossible for the will of the Absolute to enter our level. In order to do that, the Absolute would have to destroy all the intermediate worlds, since everything depends on the laws governing them.